Marchim to all. I would like to touch upon a very powerful piece, the Yesharim, the Radina Rebbe, based on the Torah of his father, the Izhbitza, Yankiv. Har Lakoin on Yom Kippur, Yom HaKodesh, came into the Kodesh HaKadoshim twice. First time was to bring in Ketores, Kaf and the Machto, spoon and the shovel. We marked the Ketores Bein HaKruvim in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. He made hazois and he prayed. And then another time, after the avodas hayoim, after he finished everything outside, he returned to the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Gemara in Human Avlam Bey says, Lama Huba, why is he coming again? The Gemara says, Lo hoiti as a kaf es hamach. Take out kaf and the machta. To remove that spoon and shovel that he brought in originally, be makti the Ketores. And the question, very, very pashut, shouts out, why did he leave it there to begin with? Why didn't he remove it when he was there originally the first time? After he's done, remove the kaf and the machta, remove the spoon and the shovel. Why did he leave it there to remain till after the avodah? And then to return to retrieve the kaf and machta that he left there from the previous time that he visited the Kodesh HaKadoshim earlier that day. So the Soy Yesharim, the Radziner Rebbe, this is in Torah Ois Memtes, Motzi and Kippur. It's a very powerful piece that he bases it upon the Yankiv, the Izhbitza. He says, this unique connection and interaction between the kaf and the machta, spoon and the shovel, is a remes, symbolizes the chibur, the unique connection between the Rebbeinu Shelomo, Kaviyachol, and Klal Yisrael. Specifically, the actions the Klal Yisrael do, the avodah the Klal Yisrael does, the pu'ulos that they do for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's some unique connection between Kadosh Baruch Hu and the avodah of Klal Yisrael. All year round, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is called Hakel HaKodesh. Hakel HaKodesh. Asaris Yimei Tshuva, he's called HaMelech HaKodesh. Melech HaKodesh. The king, a holy king. What is the significance of Melucha, of kingdom? So, in regards to our reference to what a Melucha means, we consider a Melucha, in this world, a Melucha is considered someone who has the freedom of choice, not subject to anyone else, does whatever he pleases. That's a king. Zohar HaKodesh and Ekev. Melech L'Sata, a king of this world, is someone that has freedom. Someone that's not bound to anyone. To the contrary, people are bound to him. That's the epitome of kingdom. The greater the freedom, more free you are, more in control you are, the greater king you are. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's not that way. Melech, Melucha, Malchus by HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu connects himself with the avodah of his subjects. Who are his subjects? Klal Yisrael. To the contrary, like Yisrael Meisif and Koyach Bepamal Yishal Ma'ila, the Gemara says, Chazal say, the Yidden add on Koyach, strength, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Kaviyachal, doesn't really need us. That's the way He built this world. That's the way He created this world. We, so to speak, give Him strength by doing avoid on this world. And this is the idea of Malchus. Malchus is that there's a Melech, and there's an Am, there's a nation that listens to the Melech and does avodah, gives him strength, strengthens his Melucha, strengthens his Ma'amid, his standing point. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls Malchus. That's the end of Melucha. This is what the Zohar Kodesh writes. So the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, when he went into Kodesh HaKadoshim, first time he left the Kaf Machta, because the Kaf Machta symbolizes the Chibur between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Avoid of Klal Yisrael. There's a Kaf, there's a Machta. Spoon, the shovel, shovels out the coals, and they connect uniquely to bring out the beauty of Malchus Shemayim, the beauty of our Kabbalah of Malchus Shemayim. We are makabel upon ourselves on Malchus Shemayim, and with that we strengthen Malchus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu becomes a Melech based upon us. Adonai Olam Hashem Molach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was king way before the world was created. Now that the world was created, as I am Melech Shmoyik, and now he's called the Melech. Now he's called the Melech because Malchus by HaKadosh Baruch Hu means that there's a Yidden, there's Bnei Yisrael that do avodah. So the Kohen Gadol left it there, that this Kippur should bake and cook and become internalized by Klal Yisrael for another few hours, until he was ready to take it out. This is a murder piece. The Yesharim based on the Messiah, the Izhbitza. Just want to elaborate on this a little bit to explain the significance and the unique concept and the toikev kedushas hayom of Yom Kippur, of Yom Kippurim, of the Yom HaKodesh, the way it's called by Klal Yisrael. The Kohen Gadol, when he was in Kodesh HaKadoshim, said a number of tefillas. One of them was Lo Yadi Avid Shulchan mit the Beis Yehuda. The leadership, the kingdom of Beis Yehuda, shouldn't sever. And again, so Yesharim brings down the name of the Messiah, the Heilige Izhbitza, son of the first Izhbitza of the Mea Sheloach. He says, Kohen Gadol was mispalel, not just that Malchus Yehuda should continue, but more so. What's the significance of Malchus Yehuda? That there's a shayrish, there's a root, comes from Yehuda, and that root, that shayrish, that source of Melucha that comes from Yehuda should not sever, it should continue. Until Mashiach comes, until Mashiach B'David comes and continues the legacy of Malchus Beis Yehuda and takes out Klal Yisrael from Goldah and brings them to Eretz HaKodesh, and Beis Hamikdash HaShlishi. Sheyibanim b'mehera v'yimeinu. It's more than that. Klal Yisrael shouldn't sever their connection to the Shoyesh, to the root of everything. Yom HaKodesh, Yom Kippur is the day where we reconnect and reunite with our root, with our roots, with our Shoyesh, where it all began. In the Kodesh HaKadoshim is where everything began. The world was created from the Evan HaShasiyah, which is in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Once a year, the Kohen Gadol returns to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the place where it all began. Because when a Yid is connected to the Shoyesh, to his roots, and he has a chibur with the Rebbeinu Shelomo, he doesn't forget who he is. Rabbi Shleimah of Karlin said, the biggest avera is that a Yid forgets he's a Ben Melech, he's a prince. Because if he would remember who he is and what his destiny is meant to be, He wouldn't sin. He wouldn't do any aveirus. But we forget who we are. And that's where the trouble all begins. Say a mashal about a king that had a ben yochid, an only child, a crown prince. He was going to take over the kingdom one day, and the king wanted to send him away to learn a great university by great people, that he should be an ultimate good king. The time comes. And he's worried. The king and the queen were very worried that if you send him away and he's going to live amongst other people, he might forget the way of a crown prince, the way he carries himself, and the ins and outs of the king's palace. And being away so far, such an extended period of time, he might forget. He might not be used to that life anymore. He might lose his touch. What do? The place that he was going to stay, this faraway place, they built a room that was exactly like his room in the king's palace. And they told him every single day at a designated time, he should go in there for a number of moments, for a number of minutes, remind himself of the king's palace, surround himself by the walls of the king's palace, and read a letter they will write to him about life in the palace, who he is and what he's meant to be, and what it is to carry yourself as a prince. And by doing so every single day, he never forgot who he was, never forgot how to conduct and carry himself as the crown prince. And that's how that lineage never severed. He always remained connected to his father's home. For those few moments every day. And Kippur is that day that we connect ourselves, reunite our father's home. Throughout the year, we're so carried away, everyone gets caught up with all the things that they have. And sometimes we forget who we are. Mi'ayin Basel, where you coming from? Where you going? Ayeka, where are you in this world? We're b'nei malachim, we're children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We forget. That's the biggest aver of the tool, because that's where it all begins. All the trouble begins there. Kadosh Baruch Hu gave that one day a year. Remember, going back into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. When God went into the Kodesh HaKadoshim physically, we go there. Ruchni is spiritual. We have a Kodesh HaKadoshim within ourselves. We built a Mishkan within, and there's a Kodesh HaKadoshim which is the Nishmas. The holy Nishama, which is a chelik of the Kamimal, a piece of HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. And when we connect with the Kodesh HaKadosh, now once a year we go in. We're malachim, we're angels. No one should be. No Adam, no human should be in the Olam Moed. It's all malachim, it's all angels. We're b'nei malachim. Children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Children of God. In Kippur, we have to reunite ourselves to the Shaish, the root where everything began. And to remind ourselves, to remind ourselves who we are and what we're destined to be. And that's how the kapara and the purity, the tahara of Yom Kippur descends upon the person. Because as long as he is united with the Makar, as long as he remembers who he is, as long as he knows how to connect himself with the Kodesh HaKadoshim, it'll be much easier for him to overcome any of the koiches of the Yetzer Hara. Much easier. Because he knows who he is. He remembers what it is to live as a Ben Melech. He never disconnected. If he did, he reminds himself again. And that's how the Vizrakti Leichem Naim Toidim Tahartem. It purifies the person just by going through this day and remembering and connecting and reuniting. Saying the Avodah Yom Kippur. Remembering we're in the Kodesh HaKadoshim today. We're deep down, connected down with the Neshama that's very deep within us. Sometimes we don't even remember it's there. There's so much schmutz piled upon it. We reconnect and reunite and we remind ourselves. Shivisi Hashem Negdi Summit. That takes away, pulls away a person, a total disconnect of what the world has to offer, and a total connect and unification with what the Malchus Shemayim has to offer. Malchus Shemayim has to offer us as being B'nai Malachim. Not just as being Mekabel Malchus Shemayim, as being B'nai Malachim. B'nai Keil Chai, children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Banim Atam Hashem Olekeichem. Chavivi Yisrael Shenikru Banim HaMakai. It's a murder Chavivus. Klai Yisrael has it, they call Banim HaMakai. This is the significance of Yom HaKodesh, of Yom Kippur. This is the significance of the tahara, the purity of Yom Kippur. It's like a mikveh. Mikveh is a tahara person. Why? Because the mikveh is water that comes straight from the makar, straight from the well, straight from the source of the water. When a person goes within, immerses himself, surrounded by the water, it's as if he's reborn. It's a lashon of Chazal. It's as if he's reborn because he's connected to the root, to the source of it all. The closer we are to the source, the closer we recognize where the source is and reconnect ourselves to that source, the better off we are. There's a murdik Simcha and Gevura in the Koimoy, by the place of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Nothing gets old. Like the Lechem Aponim. The Lechem Aponim stayed fresh from Shabbos to Shabbos in the Beis HaMikdash because it was close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It was there right near the Kodesh HaKadosh. That's what kept it fresh. The more close we remain to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the fresher we remain. The more moleichiyos we remain. The more full of life, full of passion, full of enthusiasm. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, full of inspiration, because we're close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Alone, the closer we remain to Him, the closer we're focused and we realize who we are, how intertwined and connected we are with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the better off we are. The more Simcha Sachaim we have, the more chiyas of life we have, the more fresh we are, the more we don't get old. You don't lose it. It doesn't become a burden as time goes on. You get more, you have no patience anymore. It doesn't happen that way. Yom Kippur is the day we refresh ourselves. The more we refresh ourselves, the more koach we have throughout the year to be able to be over Hashem, to simcha, to leiva, to be over Hashem, the chiyas, always v'chedel b'mkoimoy, and with the gevura, with an azaz the kedusha, because we're close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have the Yesharim Hashem, we have the Yom Kippur within us, we have the Goldah Mishkan within us, we have the Kodesh HaKadosh that we connect with. That those moments a day that the king told his prince to do, we have that. We have the Yom Kippur. We have the Yom Kippur. We have the Chalodom Boil Moyed. We have the Kohen Gadol going to the Kodesh HaKadosh. We have the mikveh. The mikveh Yisrael Hashem. Mikveh metaris the name of Kodesh Baruch Hu metaris Yisrael. Kodesh Baruch Hu is the source of it all, just like a mikveh is metaris Tamein. Kodesh Baruch Hu is metaris Klal Yisrael. Because Kodesh Baruch Hu is the Mishnah, the last Mishnah, Mesechtas Yuma, Mesechtas of Yom Kippur. Rabbi Kiva, famous Omer Rabbi Kiva. Just like a mikveh is metaris Tamein because we're connected to the roots. After Kodesh Baruch Hu metaris Yisrael, so to HaKadosh Baruch Hu metaris Klal Yisrael. The more connected we are with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the more purity we get. The more of a connection down the Shama we have to the source. To the Kodesh HaKadosh. Let's remember what Yom Kippur is all about. Let's remember. Just like the Kohen Gadol davened in the Kodesh HaKadosh, that the Malchus Beis Yehuda shouldn't disconnect, to remain in continuation, the legacy of Yehuda until Mashiach ben David comes. So to us, we shouldn't disconnect. We should remain close and connected to the Shayrish, to the Makar, to the root, to the source. The more connected we are, the tefillah of the Kohen Gadol will reverberate within us and give us the koyach to be able to truly acquire the avoid of Yom Kippur, truly acquire the Kedushas HaYom, the Yitzumish Al Yom HaChaper, the Nisan HaToyket Kedushas HaYom, Ki Yom Noire V'Oyom. Erbon Yisraelim is the Melech Malchim Amlachim, and we're the B'nai Malachim. We just have to remember. Let us not forget who we are. Let us not forget what we're destined to become. Because as long as we remember that, we'll have the Yom Kippur. The Yom Kippur won't disappear from our hands when the moment of Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, and that Ki Shayf is heard. Sometimes it just slips away. And that's it. Like the Pasuk said, Lo Noda Kibor El Kabana. Not even noticeable that the person had it, that he went through Yom Kippur. The only thing that's noticeable is that he's hungry. He eats. After that, nothing is noticeable anymore. It's as if it never happened. Let us make sure that we're not in that situation. Yom Kippur stays with us. The Kodesh HaKadosh stays within us. The Izhbitza Hashem and Alegriah stays within us. We should realize what our avodah is. Our avodah gives koyach to the Rebbeinu Shalom. The kafa mafta lingers on. Adoyim azeh the chibur the kafa mafta. The chibur between Kadosh Baruch Hu, the connection between the Rebbeinu Shalom and the avodah of Klal Yisrael lingers on. Because that's what defines what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in regards to us and what we are in regards to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We all have the Gemara Chasim Toive. Baruch Hu grant us that all our tefillah should be this kabel. Rachimim Ulerotzain, and we should have a Yom Kippur that will be remembered throughout the year and give us koyach and chizuk. We should always be able to draw that day of Yom Kippur for the entire year. Hakadosh Baruch Hu should grant us and our families, all of our families, a year full of Simcha, a year full of health, the Parnasa, Tichle Shana, Kilo Yisrael, Tochel Shana, Birch Yisrael. New year should begin full of brachas, goyim al chasodim, toivim la'am Yisrael, we should be zoiche. The Kodesh HaKadosh that we have within us should bring us closer to the Kodesh HaKadosh that will be the Beis HaMikdash HaShlishi, Boneh, His Koinen, Yedei Mashiach Tzidkeinu, B'mehira, Yameinu, Amen. Thank you very much.